Is one of my favorite people in this industry is because of how genuine and authentic he is and how real and honest he is about the successes and the challenges in the industry. A little bit about Mark Anderson. I'll let him kind of give you the full backstory, but by the time he sold his company, I don't know what, a decade ago or whatever, decade plus ago?
I've actively been out 8 years.
There we go. So
2 years are now.
Nearly 10 years ago, they were doing $13 million in revenue, had 300 employees, and he's been in the business for over 50 years. Not every day do we get to sit here and engage and listen to someone with 50 years plus experience in the industry. Not only that, I think something really unique about Mark is he's also mentored over 100 contract service providers. So without any further ado, please welcome Mark Anderson.
All right. I guess it's time to get going. Carlos, if I go too long and it's lunchtime, give me the signal, all right? Perfect. Let's see, yeah. I heard your information application a little differently. The way I was taught it is information with no application equals constipation. So don't get mad when it doesn't work when you don't work yet. Okay? Part of what I'm going to talk about today isn't just for me. I've collected this stuff. I've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars in education. Speakers, that was kind of Jessica followed Bruce Springsteen. I chased all the motivational and business speakers around. So I was in the industry for 50 years, started when I was 17. Actually, that's why I was in 52. So yes, that makes me 69. Just so you don't get to 79 with your math, okay? The important thing is, if you were listening to Jessica, she gave you in 1 hour what it took me a year of hard knocks to learn. That was one of the most precise applications of information on the things you need to know and how to avoid the rocks in the river when you're steering your boat down there if you're going to exit your business. And let's see, I bought a couple $1 million companies along our way, and I sold mine and did several other things in strategic partnerships with companies. So I kind of learned everything the hard way. And college did not teach me how to run a janitorial company. You learn by doing. So the open doors there are just, I'm going to throw a lot of stuff out. Angel and James asked me to bring the dump truck and go for it. So I'm going to go fast. I'm kind of fussy about audience participation, so if I ask for an answer and you look at me, I'm going to look at you. First one to speak loses, okay? I want you to open your mind because we're not going to talk about the usual things everyone talks about. And I'm horrible at holding a mic. I'm used to a lapel, or it's on a microphone like this when I'm playing with my band, okay? So open your mind to what we're going to talk about because we're going to talk about how to get the most out of your current customers. And Jessica alluded to that. I'm going to talk to a couple things. Matter of fact, she stole a couple of my slides. I don't know how she did that because I didn't meet her till today, but it's about profit. And one of your biggest profit grounds are the people you are serving. 10% of my revenue came from my current clients, year in and year out. And we held our clients an average of 13 years. The average volume of our clients was 15,000 a month. Our management staff was with us an average of 12 years. If we looked at the average manager. So we were able to engage clients, we were able to engage employees, nothing special, hard work just like you guys did it. What's important, what counts. And that's what matters. We're going to talk about retention just a bit. So now if I can find I think with all that said, one aside, I talk about all the things I did. Honestly, I didn't do them. Over 40 years, I had hundreds of people, hundreds of managers, hundreds of executives, hundreds of mentors work with me to get it done. And I think most importantly, again, I'm not going to preach, but I also am a man of faith, person of faith, and I believe that got us through a lot and how we made it 40 years, quite frankly. Because there's times people called me and said, you got the award. And seriously, I just dropped the phone. First time I got a $500,000 award. We beat out all the major companies in the country. Pure luck, I don't know, but somewhere I like to think my work and stupidity and God's providence meet together to do some things. So I just like to give credit where it's due. So when I'm talking about I did, refer back to that little piece if you would. Now let's see if I got these things right. There we go. You've just seen that. Daryl's my son. We wound up in this venture after he did a few things, and I sold the business. And his work with the marketing, as he said, that improved our EBITDA multiplier by 11%. And our multiplier at that time was 5. So it made a big difference. So we are in the people business. We are in the relationship business. That's the only business we're in. If you think you're in the cleaning business, no, you are not. Everything you do touches people. Employees, people. Customers, people. Employees aren't happy. How happy do you think your customers are going to be? Oh, come on. Thank you. I can stand up here 40 minutes waiting for an answer. And so we're going to talk about the importance of retention and keeping them. I'm going to flip through some stuff. I'm going to do some mindset things here real quick. It's all industry specific. So the whole thing here is to just, I'm really sorry about this because I just cannot. Can you all hear me like this? I'm done. Yeah, but you're on here. You're recording here, correct?
Yep. So keep that on.
This?
You don't have to keep that on.
Ah, thanks. I'm a wanderer. I'm used to a lapel mic. Okay. So discover how to get more revenue and profit from your current clients. That's all we're going to talk about today. Sales with current clients. This is anybody recognize this view? Anybody ever seen that in here? Yeah, sure you have. That's the view we're going to go today. It's going to take us a while. We're going to be flying at 700 miles an hour. We'll take some questions at the end. The important thing is I'm around the next day and a half. Talk to me. You got some questions. What the heck were you talking about? Let me know. So there's 4 kinds of people, and I found this in working with hundreds of businesses that are in this audience today about the things we're going to talk about. You don't know it, which is great. When I first learned this stuff, I spent over $6,000 to learn this at a seminar I could ill afford to go to, and it made me millions. You know it, but don't do it. Oh, that's 80% of people. Information without application is constipation. The information isn't on trial. It's your ability to apply the information that's on trial. This stuff works. The things that we use and some of the stuff I'll show you, we are affiliates with a couple of people. I still have a coach. At 69 years old, I still have a coach and a mentor. And he's created $1 billion of business using this stuff. The other company we're with, Focus, that's top line business revenue. The other company is Focus, that we use professional software to help business owners analyze their businesses to get the most bang for the buck. Because you don't sell your revenue, you sell the profit it generates. Nobody bought a loaf of revenue, or nobody bought a loaf of bread, excuse me. I had somebody tell me this once. You're not going to go in and tell somebody, I'm doing $1 million, and they're going to give you a loaf of bread. But you walk in and hand 10% of that to somebody, they'll give you something. Revenue does not provide raises, doesn't get you where you want to go, doesn't get your people where you want to go, and doesn't necessarily best serve your customers if you overextend yourself and don't meet that revenue goal and you get too busy delivering it. You know it, you do it, but you don't do it well. So the first one, if you don't know it, that's going to be maximizing. We're going to add some things to your business. Third one, you know it, you do it, but you don't do it well. That's optimization. We're going to show you some ways to help do things better. And I know there's a couple of guys, because this is an amazing group. Oh, darn it, Daryl, I see what your problem was here. All right, folks. It's different than my pointer. All right. Why is that missing a... Ah, nuts. This is like live music. You never know what's going to happen, okay? You do it so well, you should be up here. And if you've done this and done it well, at the end, I'd like you to tell this audience how it's worked for you. That's part of masterminding. So, if you go, yeah, I got the top 3 covered. Tell us how it's worked. We want to know. We want to know about each other's successes. So, we're going to bang through this. every time I stand up and speak to a group, the same with Daryl, we want to help business owners get all the profit out of their business, okay? Maximize and optimize. I covered that. So, everybody can read that, right? And it says, yeah, oh, yes. Oh. Pop quiz, which would you rather have? Anybody? You want bigger revenue? Why do you want bigger profits? I gave you the answer, sorry. Early. We're about profits. Profits, if you're going to exit, is what creates your value. When they looked at my business, they didn't care how much revenue I was driving. You know what they looked at? What was I bringing into the company? That's what they looked at. And they looked at what we could add in and take away as they reevaluated my company. Like I said, I've sold my company and I've bought a few, so I kind of get how it works. But bigger profits. And honestly, we had a year or two, we never grew our business. We didn't add one new client and we grew. Grew by $1 million. You know what we were doing? We were selling to our current customers. You know why? They know, like, and trust us. Now, what I'm giving you today, we usually take 4 hours to do. So here's an old, anybody ever heard the old business saying? Now this was on Jessica's slide, but I got a little different way of saying it. Revenue for vanity, profits for sanity, but cash is king. How would somebody interpret that, please? What does that mean to you? Somebody, anybody? I can call on you. Oh, come on. This is the fun part of the game. Profit turns into what? Cash. What do you do with cash? You build your company, you get better people, you pay yourself more, whatever you want to do with it. Cash is what's left over. The easiest way, you want to read a financial statement? R minus E equals P. Revenue minus expenses equals profit. Simple. That's it. There's 20 million categories in between, regardless of how you slice and dice all of your accounting, but that's it. So I was curious, are people talking about this? I found 6.6 million results in 0.46 seconds on Google. So it's still being talked about. It is a hot topic. And it's particularly a hot topic for business owners, small business owners. If you're in a corporation and you're not making profit, right, you're gone. Because he came from the corporate world. We were having a discussion last night. You don't stay. They don't care how good you are. You've got to generate profit. We get the privilege of deciding what enough is and isn't because we own a business. That's a pretty nice place to be despite all the responsibility and headaches. So, the most universal strategy, growth strategy, 90% of small businesses use. What do you think it is? Go ahead. Yeah, word of mouth. What else? What else do we have? Okay. You're all right, and you'll see why. Well, that's expense control. But we'll get there. They get more new customers. All the energy is put on getting new customers. And I'm not saying the old ones go by the way, but the relationships aren't built. They aren't educated of everything you have to offer them. We'll talk about that. And you're leaving money on the table. And I found out that the hard way. Everything I've done, I got to tell you, I found out the hard way. Doesn't make me special. Sometimes people said it made me stupid. I don't know. So, any of that look familiar? Whose profits are pressed due to any of those things today? Give them show of hands. Who's having these problems? Okay. What's up? What's not up there that I might not have mentioned? Anything? I mean, those are pretty 40,000, 30,000 foot view things. Yep. Accessing, that's part of the short. Competition, you got two competitions now. You got people trying to take your clients away and trying to price it better, and you got Home Depot and Costco and everybody else under the sun raising rates to 18 to 20 bucks. You want to work in Costco or you want to clean a building? Easy choice. Maybe not the best. So where can you look to substantially increase your profits? In addition, now I am not against new customer acquisition. Vital, lifeblood. But there's a second avenue. And we are not, I'm going to talk briefly about this because of time. I'm going to skip the little video I had. Who here has heard the story of Acres of Diamonds? One? Look it up. Russell Conwell was a businessman, a Baptist preacher, and he started a little university you may have heard of called Temple. And it was about 1888 he ran across a story about someone who owned a farm, thought they could do better because the grass was greener, sold it, left it, died broke, poor, and penniless. The guy who bought the farm ran into a diamond one day, said, "What's this?" Stuck it on his... This is a true story. You can look all this stuff up, Google it, it's all over. He also wrote a book, fast read, about an hour. Guy says, "What's that?" And he said, "I don't know. Found it in the river down by the..." It was a diamond. Turned out to be the largest diamond mine in the world, right on his property. One guy left and didn't have it. The other guy walked into it and opened the largest diamond mine in the world. And like I said, you want to Google it? It's fun reading, motivational stuff. We're going to skip old Earl Nightingale there. So we've covered that. Everybody clear? We got two revenues. You got two people to sell to. You don't just have one. You've got your new customers and you've got your current customers. If you're doing the job, you think they might be interested. If you wanted to do something else for them, you might be the chosen one more than the competition. Sure. There's I'm a statistics guy, not quite as bad as Jessica. But 44% of companies on getting new customers, this is from Marketo, I hope I spelled that right. And yeah, I get my stats from people that do primary market research. I can't afford to do this stuff, but I can look it up, thanks to Google. 16% only focus on keeping. Now keeping, we're going to have two things. We're going to have keeping and we're going to have selling more to them. The other 40% is M&A. And in this group, I heard a couple people ask, well, gee, I'd like to start buying some companies. That's great, but normally those are larger companies, as Jessica explained. Like I said, she kind of encroached on a couple of my slides. But basically, if you took the 40% out, you took the ratios, if we just did small business, it's 70% focus on getting, only 30% focus on keeping their customers and getting more out of them. So, anybody here, could you tell me what it costs you to get a new client? Total cost. Energy, expense, number of years. Well, I do know this for a fact from some of the larger companies I work with, they're expensive. They are time consuming. If you are doing a great job with your bids out and you got a close rate of 33%, you're doing well, you may have better. This depends on size of account too. Let me put that into perspective. I mean, if I'm selling $1,000 a month, I better be closing 50%. If I'm closing $20,000, if I'm doing a $20,000 a month account, competition's stiff. Competition changes as you go up the ladder. Just got this from one of my large clients. The average time to acquire a client is 18 months. You say, well, I picked up the phone and got one yesterday. If you get a chance, I'll save that. So it is 18 months, because you think about it. You make a call. We'll just make this simple. You hiring? No? When you go out to bid? 7 months? Okay. 7 months, I call back. You going out to bid? Nope. Got put on back burner, not important. Boom. 9 months. You going out to bid? Yep. Come bid. If it's a decent sized account, that takes a while. They have to gather all the information, vet all the contractors, shortlist the thing. And so you're out a year if you're lucky. But it takes 18 months. This is a slow cycle sales business. We're not selling weight loss. We're not selling hair removal. We are not in the, what's that? Not to step on any toes. You know, everything's about scale. I heard a lot of people last night use the word scale. We're in a slow scale business, folks. We don't get to sell it and walk away. We have to sell it, and then the real sale comes in. We got to deliver it day after day. That's work with some of the things that we talked about. So, if you don't know what the cost is, it cost us on average for one of those large accounts about $10,000 to acquire them, and about 2 to 3 years to get in the cycle, because they do them in cycles. And understand today that out of everybody looking to make a buying decision, 3% are buying today, 7% are thinking about buying in the next 30 days. The rest fall into several other different categories. And if you're interested in finding out the stats on that, I won't go into that, but there's a couple guys, the guy that built Federal Express, Chet Holmes. He's got the Chet Holmes pyramid. Really explains why you can't sell people fast and why it takes so long. That's where I'm going to fall back to Daryl. You got to have a marketing program. You got to be top of mind and first in line, because you're not the only people calling. My customers, on average, had 10 to 12 calls a week from competitors. Yep. Yeah. My customers knew, liked, and trusted the entire team. I got most of my marketing information from my current customers. Got to go out to bid. Great. How we looking? Good. What do you need? Need a cost reduction? What do you got? Okay. Put that on his value add. We'll see. When the whole thing's done, I walk back and say, I'll pick on Steve back there. I'll say, Steve, how'd it go? I kept the job. What'd the bids look like? Hey, give me some information. Sure, man, you got the contract another 3 years. Boom. I know what everybody's doing. Primary marketing information. Because they liked us. They liked us because we did the work, we were the right price, and we performed. And they liked our people. I got a triangle I teach, another thing called price, performance, and people. That is your business. You don't have the right people in place, you're in trouble. You don't have the right price. I heard somebody say, well, I can't get jobs. The secret to getting any size job is you've got to know the market, you've got to know what your competitors are bidding, all right? And you got to be plus or minus 5%. Now, where did I come up with that? My 40 years of experience in talking to hundreds of decision makers, and I had a 40% close rate, so you figure out how many bids we put out all the time. A lot of information. That's the world according to Mark Anderson, okay? But you got to be plus or minus 5. Somebody's going to give you a 5% over their costs. You better have a lot of value and be solving a lot of their problems. So how do I get those numbers? You ask. When you're talking to people, your field reps, or if you're doing the sales, and in our company at the end of the day, we didn't have any sales. My partner sold, I sold, and our regional vice president sold, because nobody could handle the load, but we have marketing. So we didn't have to go beat the streets. And I'm talking 8, 10 years ago, when marketing isn't what it is today. You know, I say I graduated with Fred Flintstone, and it's pretty much the truth. You know, we stuck stamps on envelopes and sent it out and got on the phone. Okay, that was our fast delivery. So I just said it. There's the steps, and I've got a whole series Daryl and I do on this, but that's what has to happen to sell a contract. You got to find them, you got to grind them into a suspect, you got to make them a prospect. That's when they're a prospect. I want to hear more. Get a bid request, submit it, and sell it. It's a long cycle. Oh, by the way, I see a lot of you taking pictures. I'll put I don't normally do this, but because these guys have put this on, I'll put this whole slide deck up. It's got a trademark on it, not everything, some of it's public domain. So since you came, I'll ask you to use it. And if you want to share it, ask me. If you do something different, yeah, God bless you. Strategic blind spots. We're getting to the good stuff. We'll get to the numbers. So the elephant in the room. 16% of the people retain their customers and work with them to get more out of them. Only 16%. You think there's an opportunity with your customers? Do you think there's an opportunity with your competitors' customers? Topic for another day. The opportunities below the surface of your business could be your diamond mine. What's in the stream you don't know about? And I learned this lesson the hard way over and over again. But if you are taking care of your customers, if your people, you and your people, and I don't know how well you're organized, I don't know anything about any of it. So, I mean, a little bit I know. So before I can give you advice, I really have to understand your company, right? So remember, this is all structured at the 30,000-foot view. What fits, fits. What doesn't, doesn't. The Holy Grail, I've worked with a lot of business analysts, and the Holy Grail is what we have. That's a recurring customer. Every month, you send a bill, they send a check. You send a bill, they send a check, right? It's glorious. You don't have to worry about how many are falling off unless you're not doing the work, you're not seeing them, you don't have relationships. Relationship business. So the Holy Grail of the Holy Grail is the work you can get from your current clients. And believe me, all you got to do, you can't just walk up and it's like Daryl was explaining. Well, this is another presentation. I get all these presentations kind of screwed around. You can't just walk up and say, hey, do you want to buy more carpet cleaning? Hey, do you want to buy pressure washing? Hey, your scope's short. Can I show you how to make this better? Make your building cleaner, make it healthier, and make your end users happier. They're not going to listen to you. That's like walking up and saying, you know, hey, give me $100, would you? What are you going to do? Somebody to get lost. No one's going to do it. You have to build a relationship. There's a customer journey, and that's what Daryl was starting the beginning of. Doing more business with people that already trust and have confidence. What are you leaving on the table? I'm not going to go any further than that. Think about it. Open doors at the beginning, that's what this was all about. I just want you to think about things. I'm going to throw a lot of information at you. I'm hoping some of it does something. The probability from marketing metrics of selling to an existing customer is between 60 and 70%. Would anybody like to take a stab at what it is selling to somebody that's new and not on your book of business? 15, 3, 5. Very good. Y'all hit it, 15 to 20. Or 5, sorry. Yeah, I'm old. And sometimes I look through the bottom, you know? Yes. Yeah. If they're quick. Okay. I can always stop this, but we won't get to what you probably all want to know is how the heck we're going to do this. So we have something called the Profit Improvement Performance Process. Again, this is from the people that we work with because they're smarter minds than us putting these things together, building these softwares and the systems we use. Why recreate the wheel? I just found out what they're doing and did it fit with what I was doing and I believe in and how our company and our people were able to make money. So let's unlock some. Anybody familiar with that term? I have one yes. Okay. That's basically how the Japanese destroyed American business in the 80s and 90s. They took what was done and they made small incremental business improvements. Again, no disrespect, we are in a different business. And it doesn't matter if it's us, a group of plumbers, a group of electricians, a group of contractors, we deliver service. And I deal with all those industries. I deal primarily here, but I do go across industries when some folks call me. So, what does that mean to us? Let's just take a quick look. So how can you start exploring some, hang on a second. Something didn't, yeah? Okay. So basically, there's the deal. So I'm telling you what the consultants do. I'm telling you what the coaches do, right here. It's knowing where to look. I'm going to pull back the curtain and show you how we do some of this stuff so you can do it in your business. What, where, and how. Any of that sound familiar? In any language, it's all the same thing. What, where, how, why, who, when. How to increase your bottom line. Keep your eye on your bottom line. We're not going into a management thing at this point, but right now we're going to talk about increasing it. There's 50 plus areas in your business that have been identified that can be maximized and optimized. Maximize is adding to something you're not doing. Optimizing is doing something better you're currently doing. Very simple. Don't get them mixed up. Every time I do one of these talks, I have to go look it up and rememorize it, okay? There's hundreds of probing questions. So, there you go. You want to know how to analyze your business in any area. I don't care what it is. It's that simple. I mean, people make hard work out of doing easy stuff for small business people by complicating it and making you take classes that take hours to understand something, okay? It's ridiculous. Situation, strategy, tactics, and measures. Here's what my business mentor, that I was privileged, I had a fellow that worked with me for 25 years, was an IBM executive. So I got the best training in the world from IBM secondhand. Does any of that look familiar? You use that every day. Do you know where you use that in your life every day? Where? Yep. GPS. They've made fortune out of that. Where am I? Where are you? Where are you in your finances? Where are you with your current customers? Where are you in your revenue? You don't know where you are. Got to watch my contractor language. How are you going to know where to go? Okay? It's real simple. Do you pack up the family and say, we're going to Virginia? We're in Virginia. I don't know, we're going to Virginia. Of all the people I've talked, I'm also a SCORE business mentor, and I've been the last 4 years, SCORE's Senior Corps of Retired Executives. Quick plug for them. If you, a lot of you are too big in this room, but if you're probably under $1 million, you can get all the free business consulting. I've done tons of people with janitorial services and related industries because that's a gift back to the community, and they're part of the Small Business Administration. And I've been with them 4 years and just love it. You wouldn't believe the problems that walk in the door. But one is, can I see your business plan? What's the answer? What business plan? I know where to start. Where are you? Okay. Where do you want to go? So I'm here. Where do I want to go? What do we have? We have a gap. It's called gap analysis in big technical quality control terms, okay? I was a CQ. I'm a certified quality manager with the American Society of Quality Control because my customers demanded it, not because I necessarily loved it. But I had to know the lingo. How do I get there? So there's the gap. How do I get there? Just like Google phone. When will we know we're there? It really is that simple. If you want to get complicated, I highly suggest look these folks up. This guy wrote his master's and has made millions on those 4 statements. P.R. Smith, it's great. I've been through the training. I use a lot of this. Daryl uses a lot of this when we're working with it. I'm not going to go into that. That's about a 30, 40-minute explanation, but do look it up. He gives a 3-minute explanation on YouTube about how anybody can plan. I highly suggest it. He simplifies it. But that's it. Then he said, where are we? Where are we going? How do we get there? Basically, strategies, how we get there. Oops, I made a typo last night. Okay. Details of so basics, the tactics, or what we're going to do. That's the detail of the tactics, who, what, where, when, how, why is going to do it, and what are we measuring? I'm going to use an old axiom. For God's sake, measure what manages. One time we had a book of 50 pages of what we were measuring. And it didn't matter, because at the end of the day, the customer is happy, the employee is happy, we're not getting service. So measure what matters. What matters? Your bottom line matters, your cost of goods sold, or your cost of service delivery matter. Those are the things you have to have a handle on. This is one of our partners. What we do is we'll go into businesses and look at, this is called a Jumpstart 12. We look into those areas of the business. I love this. I can do in 8 hours what used to take me 2 days to do with a client. And it's all wrapped around this. It's finding opportunities. You'll see some of the words: cross-sell, upsell, competing officers, bundling, digital marketing. There's just one sheet. We have over 25 of these sheets to do inquiries into your company. So if somebody says, well, how do you know where you're going to go with me? My answer is, what's important? What are you struggling with? What's the issue? Then we know where to look and what questions to ask. So what's underneath that? Oh, my foundation. Well, I did a lousy job on some of that. Okay. Your business has those 5 foundations. You can break that, slice it, dice it any way you want. It all gets down to that. Marketing and sales, new customers, current clients, financial management. If you're not on top of your finances and you don't like it, find somebody who does. Because if you don't know what you're making, who's making your money for you, you're going to have trouble. Your business admin, that's the insurance and all the stuff that goes with that. So you all know what business admin is. That's probably a lot of you guys and gals get stuck doing because everybody else is doing something else. Service delivery, that's your entire operation, and that's the customer's perception of the value you're delivering, the outcomes. And then I don't believe we deliver cleaning, we deliver outcomes. Client engagement and employee engagement, 30,000-foot view. That covers everything you think about. You name it, it falls under one of those 2. I like to talk up here because once we can talk up here, we can start talking down below once we understand what that picture out that plane window is. That one is leads. I'm not going to go through all of these. So those are all the different things we'll do and look at in your business, see how they're operating. Conversions, we'll get into a little bit of that today, but that's your sales force or you. And whoops, boy, something got jumbled up in the transfer. 'Cause that's not the ones I have on my, oh geez, I'm missing the one I want. Okay, the other one above that's a green one, that's the 5th one. I'll make sure those slides are correct. Sorry, James, and I know I sent those over to you last night, and I was horsing around with something as I rethought this. Current client profits. So you need to have a design. We're going to talk about a customer matrix, but I'm going to bring it at the end after I show opportunity. Improve your customer retention. Hang on a second. I know what it's time for. Talk myself dry. Customer, who knows what CTLV is, customer lifetime value? Anybody? You don't count, Angel. Sorry. Nobody. What do you think it would be?
How long you keep a client?
Want to say that real loud?
How long you keep a client?
And why, so let me engage with you. Why would you think it's important to keep a client a long time, and what do you think happens to your business when you do that?
Well, for one, you started the issue with it's expensive to start a piece of business. You have the whole lifetime of what you're presenting in upselling, cross-selling, and bundling with a customer that has value for a long period of time. It's less low stress.
Yep. We're going to go. Thank you. Dead on. Appreciate the response. Spot on. So we're going to talk about all those. How am I doing time-wise, gentlemen? Okay. If I seemed a little rushed, I packed too much into my presentation as usual. So current client profit opportunities. That's our topic today. Customer retention's at the heart of it all. Back to your point. A 5% increase in, and I'm going to show you this, to show you the numbers. A 5% increase in retaining your customers increases your profits 25 to 95%. I got an example. I'll show you 33% improvement in your profits by keeping your customers longer. So when you're tired of somebody and you're fed up and you look at your balance sheet and they're delivering 30% gross margin and you think, I can't take this person anymore, you might think again. How do I learn to take them? And I'm not saying keep bad customers. I'm the first one to throw them out the door. But I've only done that twice in 40 years. Because if you find a way to do it, I had one customer who started out at, what the heck, $1,000 a month. When I sold my business, they were doing 150 grand a month. We knew who they were when we knocked on their door, and there was Precision Cast Parts. It's a Berkshire Hathaway company for industrial. They do all kinds of things, hip joints, you name it. And we turned that in to that contract, and they bought it, and they put another 100,000 on it. So we selected, we knew who our customer mix was, we knew what we were looking for, and we didn't do business with everybody and anybody. Basically, our mix was high technology, clean rooms, anything that had high tech, pharmaceutical. Basically, I was an expert SME in that through the 80s and 90s, okay? They came to us. I had ABM come to us. Other than SBM, I had a ton of people come to us, and that's when I started consulting. I consulted my competitors. Why? I didn't work in the area, and consulting's better money than cleaning the buildings, okay? So, next one. There it is. It costs 7 to 15 times more to acquire a new customer than retain an old one. I have read in any service industry that can go as high as 25%. We're in the service industry. So we don't, like I said, we don't sell you a product. We have to sell you every day. When the customer takes the key, sticks the door in, opens that handle, you're only as good as whoever was in that building, whatever team was in there the night before, folks. You're as good as your worst employee. Because that's all they remember, even when they're your partner. That's the work we chose. Why I stayed in this 50 years, heaven knows, but I love it, love the industry, I love the people. And we got more horsepower. I'm going to take a sidebar. We got more horsepower in this room than I've been in a long time. And we were in BSCAI for 40 years, okay? We just got the award. As a matter of fact, Marsden got it, who owns my old company. 40 years. I believe in the organization, but the sidebar on that. Oh, darn it, I lost my train of thought. I heard somebody talking. I was going to miss a question. It'll come back. Train pulled out of the station. I wasn't on it. 44% of companies focus on, you saw that one? Well, 16 focus on retention. I cut the M&A stuff out. If you're doing M&A, that's great. Mergers and acquisitions. But basically, customer acquisition. I'm not telling anyone to stop here. I'll get that question. Are you saying? No, I'm not saying that at all. You don't grow without adding new customers. But how about another channel of growth and money that's more profitable? If I've got a customer and I've got all my overhead fixed, okay, my SG&A, all that stuff's fixed, what happens when I get that piece of business? If it's $1,000, and I'm just going to use 60-40-30 or 60-30-10 as revenue, cost of goods sold, SG&A, all that, and 10% profit. I get a $1,000 account. I got a real customer in there. Okay, I'm going to get $100. I do an upsell for $1,000. I'm going to do $400. Do you know your retention rate and your churn rate? We're not going to go into that. Does everybody know what those are? Churn and retention. They're polar opposites of each other. You have to understand both. You have to know why you keep them, and you got to know why you're losing them. And you got to know if that gap is bad, how you close it if you want to retain them. If you retain them, you bill them longer, you get more profit from them. We're coming up to the good stuff, I promise you. You're looking at me. We'll get there. We'll get there. Here's my assumption. Everybody in this room, or this speaking group, not this room, but when I do these things, if you're here and you're telling me you've been in business 30 years, 29 years, 40 years, I'm assuming you have a minimum of 80% customer retention or you wouldn't be sitting here. Probably a lot better for some of you. Our customer retention rate was 97.4%. We didn't lose customers unless we were low bid. And again, we kept them 13 years. That's hard to do. And we did all site stuff. So different type of customer. And I assume you're keeping them 3 years of a minimum. This is going to lead us to our... So here's the hard truth of everything. There's why your customers leave. And look it up on the internet, test me. You'll find that answer of just about anybody throwing stats out. Now, that one was U.S. News and World Report from you know who the Rockefeller Corporation is? So they do what we do on a very large scale for 50, 60,000 businesses. It's all up to you, whether you keep them or not. 82%. 9% is product or service dissatisfaction. You know why that is? Because they finally get to the point you're not staying in touch and they think you don't care. It's not about the cleaning. It's about you didn't fix the problem. So there you go, current client profits. I'm going to run through this. This doesn't have a pointer. So I'm going to take RMR's, recurring monthly revenue. I'm going to say you got a 10% churn. That means you lose 10%. So every year you start out, if you got a sales goal, I want to increase my company 30%. I lose, so you got to really increase it 40 to get a net 30. Real simple. Nothing tough about this. I like to keep this simple. Okay, so I got 3 years no increase. The thing is, what we're going to look at, I keep them, I increase them, and I sell them more. That's the holy grail. And if you're not asking for it, I got a whole nother, I had to take the slide out, it was too long. Customer increases, and in this day and age, it's even more important. You got your annual, and then you've got all your labor costs changing. So you've got to be able to be good negotiators and go in and convince them, and I've done this with a couple companies, what your business plan is and why you need this money, unless they want to put a revolving door and an escalator in the front of their building. Because if you're not paying, again, a lot of the areas I work in, if you're not paying 18 to 20 bucks an hour preload, that's to the employee. You're not getting people. It's hard to service without people. It's hard to engage unless people feel they're being paid fairly. So anyway, so no increase. So but what I want you to know, if you have them, and increase them. And scope creep and labor changes, and I know this, I've sat in the chair, we're always hesitant. I take this in. As like I said, that SOB just going to go out to bid on me. I just know it. But if it's done right, it isn't. You take a business case in with your Excel or your Google Sheets, and you present them a business case and you don't move your margins, you can get everything you need for your people. You go, margins, well, my margin percentage went down. Yeah, it went down, but your money didn't. What are we interested in? Profit. So, okay, so my percent of revenue to profit went down. I don't care. Am I putting the same money in the bank every month? I got the customer for another 3 years. Hey, if you don't have a ticket to the game, you're not in the stadium. And you can't manage customers you don't have. Again, look at the cost of replacing them. So real quickly, if I charge $90,000 a month, and this is for a whole company, I just threw this together to make easy math. I keep them 36 months. My recurring annual, my RAR, my recurring annual revenue is 3.2. I got a net profit, let's figure 8%. And again, I don't want to argue numbers. Everybody slices and dices a difference. This is just for explanation, for example. 259,000 profit, and that's net profit. So I've managed after everything's all said and done, R minus E equals 8%, revenue minus business. So what happens if I find out I want to keep that customer longer? 6-month improvement, $90,000, we add 6 months, we add $540,000 of new revenue. That's a 16.7% increase. That's another $43,000 of net profit. We do it another 6 months, that's $86,000. There's a 33. So just to prove my point earlier, keeping your customers and retaining them can grow your company as fast as anything. How long is it going to take you to sell $90,000 a month worth of business? Ouch. And not only that, you got to start it up. And depending on the size of the account, heck, we started stuff that it took 6 months to break even, to get everything back on the startup cost. We had other stuff that we were making money on. I love the $5,000 to $10,000 a month accounts. You can bang those things out, not have problems, and I mean, they're glorious. What a great place to be. It doesn't take you forever to start them. They can be profitable in day 31, 32. They're easier work to manage. It's just not as complicated managing all the people. Would you all take that? Does that sound decent? Now you got to know what you're doing. We'll get to that. So here we go. Upsell it. Does everybody know what upsell, cross-sell, bundle is? Hands of people who know, just so I don't skip over anybody. Okay. Quick. Okay. Upsell is simply increasing the frequency of contract scope of work. So in other words, I buy a contract basically with my price. We got in. And now I start looking. Where's my opportunity? Well, they didn't buy carpet cleaning. They only bought floors once a year. We used to lower our price knowing what the upsell, cross-sell was so I could compete with the big boys. So if I knew I kept a customer 5 years and I was going to make that amount of profit, it tells me I can afford to spend more to get the customer. I can stay in the game. So you reinvest a lot of that. That's getting new business. That's how it cycles back to new clients. So cross-sell is add more services. Then these are the traditional things. Cleaning, carpet cleaning, window cleaning, cleaning for health. I don't need to tell you folks how much money you all probably made with your electrostatic sprayers and spot cleaning. Honestly, I know a guy that netted $2 million in his company's pocket. Just that he couldn't get enough, government contractor. It was a boondoggle. Will that ever happen again? No. And when you're forecasting your revenue, for God's sake, don't put that in there. Just look at it as a gift. Say, thank you, Jesus. I'll take it for that year. That's your one-off year. Get that stuff out of your forecast. Jessica talked to some of those things because a buyer will look at that. Okay? Floor coatings, we can go on. But there's some of these things you may self-perform. If you don't perform them, and this goes to other facilities, find someone who does. I didn't own a carpet cleaning company. I had a strategic partner that got all my business. And we had a deal based on size and volume. I got a percentage. We sold it. It was our customer. They had to manage it. So small job, I got 20%. So we sold a $10,000 carpet job. I got $2,000 for writing the invoice. My team checking with the customers. I didn't have to pay any of the insurance, the people, the headache, and if it wasn't done right, they came back or they weren't working for me next month. Simpler said than done. There's a whole system underneath that makes that run, but that can easily be done. Then we expanded, because we were in facilities. Some of my clients were Microsoft. We were the first ever sole source provider for Microsoft's entire clients. Yes, I've met Bill Gates and all those guys who were back there in the 90s because they were running around working at night. Boeing, we were the first outsourced contractor for 500,000 square feet. Let's see, who else did we first for? Hyundai, we did a 1 million square foot plant for them from beginning to end. Komatsu, we did a lot of things that we were really blessed to do, but we didn't get there overnight. Remember, I did this for 40 years. And when you think about scaling, I'll ask you a simple question. So you walk in and the biggest buildings you're doing 100,000 square feet. And you want to, and I've learned this the hard way. I keep coming back to that. And you walk in, somebody's got 500,000 square feet, warehouse or corporate headquarters in Federal Way. I banged on this guy's door for 5 years, never did win the business, but I knew it inside out because I bid it 3 times. But first time I came, I said, what's your biggest building? About 100. And then I tried the old trick, well, you know, you put everything together, I'm at about 1 million. He said, yeah, but it's not 500, 600, whatever it was under the roof. Well, you got to be able to finance that thing. You got to be able to ramp up. You got to be able to pay people. You got to train them. I mean, there's a ton of stuff to starting those things up. And he said, no, you're not capable. So when you select, you can scale up your client size. Another topic, one of my partners, Ed Selkow, he's going to be, he's given something today or included some. Yeah, and I have 3 partners in this. Sharon, some of you may know Sharon Cowan. She's been in the industry for, love her. We've worked together for 4 or 5 years. Ed Selkow and myself. Collectively, we all ran multi-million-dollar companies, and we have 125 years of experience in every industry you can think of. Ed covers retail, subcontracting. He's the absolute go-to SME for that, I'll tell you. I know because I went to him. That's how we met 15 years ago. Other facilities, it's the same deal. Vet partners, because I'd have somebody at a quarterly say, you guys do tenant improvements? Sure, what do you want? Oh, want these walls moved, want this, want that done. It's a little longer story. Yeah, we'll do that. You know why? We helped them. We had, I mentioned that one account, PCC, when they got a new purchasing agent, I was in with our regional vice president. He said, you guys are pretty smart, aren't you? Now, we did everything. We were doing filter changes, industrial cleaning. I mean, we were driving car service. I mean, it's kind of like ABM does on a very small scale. We were grabbing anything they didn't want to do. We'd find a way to do it and find a partner, okay? And he goes, well, I'm looking down your contract, and you're servicing, other than the cleaning, about 15 key areas in the account. And I said, yeah, it was by plan. And he said, well, it makes you kind of hard to get rid of. And I said, that was also the plan. Endear yourself to your customer. You can get into all those. Don't do that till you can do the top one well. Don't get greedy and start. We didn't do that till the last 10 or 15 years in our existence, the facility service stuff. And it's because they said, we love you. What else can you do? We had general handymen running around sites, you know, fixing tables, doing moves, all this stuff. So those are the opportunities. Again, I just want the doors at the beginning. Just open your mind to that. So typical upsell. So let's say we'll stay with our 3.2 mil reoccurring annual revenue. Let's just say we only convert. We have a sales program. Now this requires marketing. Let me back up. This isn't just going in and asking or begging for the business. It requires marketing, it requires planning, it requires being in front of them when you're not and telling them how you're going to make their life easier. Daryl was talking about that. What's the transformation? Well, if I can tell you that I can do these things for you and you only have to call our company. You mean I only have to deal with one contractor? I mean, ABM and ISS, this isn't new stuff. Unfortunately, I've had the great opportunity of working with Marsden, my past company. I'm still a consultant with them 8 years later for their Pacific Northwest division, just under $100 million a year. I work with their COO. I love it, love that group. And they're doing some great things. So let's say we only convert, because everybody goes, well, Mark, nobody ever converts everything. Fine, chop it in half. I'll give you 50%. 3% is my goal. I want to do 3% upsell and 3% cross-sell, or you could do 6. These are little, would you all agree those are little numbers? If I asked you to do anything impossible, like increase your revenue 50%, or I'm going to 20x you, or whatever it is, small incremental improvements. Understand your business, understand where your money comes from. So there you go. My new monthly revenue is that. Oh shoot, I chopped that off. Okay, normally you get more net profit. That's why that net profit's higher, because you don't have to run it through your SG&A, your sales, general, administrative. So basically all you have is, accounting terms call it the cost of goods sold. I think a better term. I didn't know where a dime was. I looked at this thing and it's 4 pages. I mean, I had this thing down to science. And but like them or not, we use Team. That was my enterprise resource management system. For us, it worked. And we were very good at it. But basically, so for 36 months, I get an extra 58,000 bucks if I extend that. So if I keep my customer 12 more months than the last one, another 19 grand of profit. How many could use 19 grand? Stupid question, it's rhetorical. How many would like $19,000 more profit? All of those who want that, don't bother to raise your hand. I can tell by the look on your face. Now we start coupling this. We keep the client longer, we sell them more. You see where this is going? This is exponential. This doesn't quit 1 year. The longer you're with the client, that conversion rate's going to go up, the length of time's going to go up, and you're going to be making more money. Money buys better employees. It can go to whatever charities you're interested in. It can go to you, your family, your lifestyle. You can buy better managers. I didn't make all the money I could, but I'll tell you what, I had a management group. You know why they stayed with us 12 years on average? I paid more than anybody else was offering. You know why? I didn't want to be out there at night. There came a point. When we sold the company, I was working 15 hours a week, okay? There's a summer my business partner and I didn't work. Why did we sell? We were getting older. We were going to swing for the fence. We were going to go into the M&A thing, borrow a few $1 million. And he looked at me one night and said, you know, I got the thing. He's older than I am. This is great. But he said, I think you all know, the older you get, the less time you have to recover on a financial disaster. Whether you're an investor, if you're 40 and you lose it all, you got time. We were in our mid-50s. And he goes, so we borrow this money, and and he goes, we swing for the fence, the company will be worth twice what it is. If it doesn't happen, then we're screwed. Plain and simple. We're at our age. How are you going to rebuild that? That was in 2007. You all remember what happened in 2008? This thing went in the tank. We lost $2 million worth of revenue. Not business, didn't lose a customer, because we understood how to work with them and how to keep them, and how to keep that money rolling in. Okay, I won't belabor that. To my earlier point, we'll go. That is some work. It's required. But see, the thing is, that's work inside your own organization. This is a lot different. So, you know, if they don't know you have it, they can't buy it. And I learned this 15 years ago, sitting in a huge facility. And we had quarterly business meetings. You want to know how long they lasted? Well, how long do you think a quarterly business meeting lasted with a $500,000 a year customer? 15. It's real simple. We used to have these things. They were long and drawn out. You had PowerPoint presentations when we did Xerox. I mean, it was just horrendous. And you'd be in there for hours and they'd grill you. And, so, you know, shoot, I jumped over to Xerox. But yeah, 5 minutes. We did 15. I promised them 15. We had a whole accountability system. Every quarterly meeting, I went with the regional vice president. First question, is this man, woman taking care of you? I want to know now. We're not going to, you're not, I knew they were happy. I never walked into a buzzsaw. Believe me, that wasn't our culture. Bad news first. Nobody gets fired for telling the truth. Nobody ever got fired for telling the truth. Might have got yelled at. Might have been handed their P&L and told to get busy. But other than these things. So, you know, and I looked at him and they said, well, John, what else? So we said, oh, okay, so one, team taking care of it. Now, my regional VP did this with our, what you would call a general manager, once a month. So we had this whole chain. So we got through the thing. Basically, what are we doing right? You want to know how to get fast? Want to know what a customer thinks of your service? 4 questions. What are we doing right? What do we need to stop doing we're currently doing? Okay? What are we doing wrong? What needs to improve? Here's the big one. This ties right into my message. Wait for it. I see the anticipation building. What else can I do for you? What can I take off your plate? And they'd look at me and say, I'm in the business of selling labor and solving your problems. That's why we sold at 10% plus. And he looked at me and said, I wish I'd have known that a month ago. They painted, I won't go, they did a huge painting project on the top of their business with their clean room cabs and everything. 50 grand. We made 50% margin on those. I just said, John, you'll never not know what we don't do again. So every meeting ended with what else can we do for you and how we can serve you. And it rolled it. Matter of fact, it got so far down the chain, our general managers did the work. We didn't have to do it at the quarterly meetings. So, and again, I didn't build this overnight, folks. 40 years, and believe me, I had a lot of sleepless nights. You try to stay awake when you lose 30% of your business because you were overloaded on one customer. A hard call. Hard call. Don't do that to yourself. So basically, CRM, Daryl's area, customer journey, his area. Our saying is first in line, top in mind. If your customer or prospect isn't thinking about you, you're not going to get an opportunity to sell more, and you will not get an opportunity to bid. Because they're not looking for people to bid their work, believe me. No, nobody is. So you've got to be top of mind and first in line. When they go to bid, they're already thinking, I know these people, they've educated me, I know what they do, I know how they do it, I like the people. That's why we had a 40% close rate. But we worked, and some of these customers took me 3 revs to get them. So, last but not least, this gets a little dicey, but I'll do my best to explain it. This is not unique to us, but there's something, know your ideal customer mix. Daryl talks about your ideal avatar, who's your ideal customers. Hang on, I'm going to pop forward here. Okay, let me back. All right, I'll make sure that I put that in last night. I'm 0 for 3 right now. That shows you where you are. So remember, where are we? If I sat any of you down, could you explain your mix of business to me? Could you do it in 15 minutes? Could you tell me your most profitable customers? Your customers that you're not making your margins. The customers that are easy to deal with. The customers that love you. So what this is, we developed this matrix from a few other things. So we put every one of our customers, reoccurring annual, gross margin, excuse me, I always call that gross profit margin, but general margin. We always did it both by dollars and by percent of revenue. You got to look at both. Because like I said, you could be down percent of revenue, but if you're generating the dollars, who cares? We took a lot of things for less just because of that. We would do that. So what we're interested in, what are we generating? What are we putting on the table to run the rest of the company? And what's in the bottom? R minus E equals P. 10-5. So what else do you need to look at? Well, we talked about customer retention. It's easy to do. You guys have all the numbers on this. So all you do is put this in an Excel chart like this, bang it on a pivot table, and start sorting and cutting and dicing just the way you want to do it. Okay, not rocket science. SIC codes. Why do you think we use the SIC codes? Does everybody know what an SIC code is? Okay. NAICS is the same thing, a little different. NAICS. Why did we do that? Because simply we wanted to know what industries to go after and chase and where we were making our best dollar. You want a profitable company? Know where your money comes from. Sometimes we had great margins, and the difficulty, that's something we self-assessed, myself and our team. If a customer is really hard to deal with, and I use this intentionally, and he's only generating 5% profit, what is that? Does anybody want to tell me what you'd come up looking at those two numbers? What would be your conclusion? POGO, pay or go. Okay? The reason that is, and I'm not saying walk in and quit. Time to negotiate. We're not making money. Here's what we need to do. Or productivity standards and studies. How many of you go through your accounts every year and improve your productivity? I got a whole set of slides on that stuff. And I'm not unique to that. Ed Selko teaches that. Barney Gershon teaches that. Dana Carvey, all these guys. I mean, I know them because they used to call on me trying to buy my business all the time, okay? So I got to know all these guys. Barney worked with us and just did some great work. And the CSAT, everybody know what a CSAT is? Okay, everybody's seen it. You've all done them. I got an angry red face here, and I got a big smiley, cheesy face up here, okay? On a scale of 1 to 10, how do you want to know where your customers are? CSAT, Net Promoter Score. Everybody know what an NPS is? Net Promoter Score is a simple question that goes like this. Would you recommend our business? If, 1 to 10. If they score anything less than an 8 and 9, you got problems. If they're below 5, you got big problems they're probably not telling you about. Real quick, so you can look up it. So that's where, I didn't put NPS in here. So, we done? Thank you. So, I told you you're going to have to keep me reined in. Ideal customer. These are the things we looked at when we went to do business with somebody. And unfortunately, I wasn't building a new business. I'm not talking startups or people early on. We knew what we needed to do to make money. Were we perfect? No. Some days I hate to say this and admit it, I probably lost as much money as I made, okay? We all do that. If you're in it, it's a risky business. Because we had 2,400 hours a night running. My business partner used to look at me and go, Mark, wonder what the hell screwed up tonight we don't know about. And I said, as long as we don't get a call tomorrow, I don't care. we had a great team, but he and I were together for 22 years running a company. Anyway, industries. That's your SIC NAICS code. Revenue size, can they pay? Why are you talking to somebody that can't pay? Now, we could talk about the D-sell and the down-sell and how to get contracts and upsell them, another topic. Current problems. What current problems do you have? Can you solve their greatest problem? PAS. So they got pain, agitation, and solution. What's their pain? Can you agitate it? And can you provide them a solution? So do they need your solution? You may be the greatest thing since sliced bread, but they don't need your solution. They didn't talk to you. Wouldn't talk to me. That's just the way it goes. So what's the problem? Do you have the solution? Can you find the solution? Because we all do the same thing. And Daryl talked about transformation. It's got nothing to do with cleanings, programs, and software. It's got to do with people implementing it. You're only as good as the people using the tool. And I go through this all the time. I'm a guitar player. You can give Eric Clapton a $199 guitar, and guess what? Man sounds like Eric Clapton. Give me a $199 guitar, I still can't sound like Eric Clapton. Okay? Company value proposition, USP. Daryl started you on the road to that. What's their decision cycle? Long cycle business. The bigger the business, the longer term of the contract, the longer the cycle. So you either got to wait your turn to bid or you got to wait for something to screw up. That's why you have a marketing program. You can't afford to have somebody out calling on these people, but you can stay top of mind first in line with the proper marketing. Decision cycle, profit margin potential. I could go down those SIC codes and see where we're generating our profit and where our upsell, cross-sells were. We knew what to do with that. Again, I'm just doing what everybody else. You ask anybody that's running a big business and be a CAI, they're doing all this stuff. And probably a heck of a lot better than I did it. But we all have our gift, we all have our limits, and we took it as far as we wanted, and we sold it to somebody we knew would take care of it in our people. We did not just blanket sell as Jessica was talking about. You got to locate them. That's that expense. And finally, personality. It's about people. You want to work with this person? There's been deals we put 10% on just because we knew they were going to be a son of a gun to work with. Didn't take it, didn't care. Because he may go, but I'm on their bid list. And I had a competitive bid, so. And if you're property managers, they change like underwear. Facility managers, directors, VPs, not so much. They're long-term people. They're different cats, different customer avatars. There you go. That's our key results. I hope we have stimulated some of your thinking today. Mark Anderson, Profit Growth Initiative. Questions? Thank you.